Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be working on the prompt for the month of May. Now this is a project that Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios has been working on, and she provided a pack of fabric with a heap of prompts. Each image was different per month. If you were one of the lucky ones that got a pack, lucky you. Otherwise you could just buy the image. So that's what I'm doing, and then taking each image and doing my interpretation of them. So in amongst the whole month of 12 months, there was some critters. We are one critter short. There's a galah, but you'll see in coming months the galah will be swapped out for something else because I'm planning on making a Japanese rice bag, my scrappy version, which I'm just grabbing one here, where the seams are exposed on the side all the way around. And the plan is that each side will have one of the critters. So the month of May is the little deer or doe, we don't know, he's baby, fawn, baby deer. So that's the plan in today's video, is to start the process. So pop Bunny away. Bunny was March, if I recall. Now we need to get that onto there. We could sketch it, but I think let's do it an easier way. Let's cut the little guy out, and then we will use this as a template and trace around him. And then as for some of the more detailed areas, I think we could probably either figure it out with a sketch or two or apply the same principle. We'll cut it down because I could use a light box or a window, but my fabric is like quite a dense canvas-like product. I picked it up, big piece of it at what are they called? The Sewing Lair, where they upcycle donated goods and you can go in and buy all sorts of things there. And I've pretty much cut it all up into squares. I've got a heap of them because I'm finding when I made my very first scrappy Japanese rice bag, they're so handy, and I've actually got 3. So this little critters one will be my 4th, and if you've been with me a while you'll know what I'm up to, but for those of you who've just found me, I'm using the bag or tote. It's not a tote, it doesn't really have a handle. It has the tabs that the cord slides through if I ever want to cinch it closed, but that's more of a decorative thing for me. Because my sides are quite firm and rigid, it sits like a storage basket. So I've got a French one, I've got this one, and there's another one kicking around. I've gone blank. Oh, goodness me. I've gone blank. A Japanese one, sorry. Yes, it's got all my Japanese. That was the first one I made. It's got all my little scraps of Japanese fabric in it from different projects. So, and each side can be different. I don't seem to do much with the base because, you know, that's not really seen. But this one, each side was a different process that I explored and then embellished and embroidered over it. So, yeah, they're a lot of fun, and I'm sort of pleased I've got a few of these cut. Now, for those of you wondering the size, 6.5 by 6.5. I've got a little bit of felt in here just to help with that rigidity, and then inside I make a internal lining the classic way of doing a Japanese rice bag. So the sewing machine joins the seams and the bottom, and that's, you know, constructed, and then I clad the sides with my pieces. So let's say that lining was sitting here on my desk, this little guy would be pinned into position, and then I just whip stitch around the outer edges, bringing all rough edges together. That way I get this nice scrappy, hence scrappy Japanese rice bag. So anyway, let's have a look at this little guy. Now, remembering that a bit of my square sort of tilts up a little bit. You can see it there. So I don't really want the little guy in amongst that, and I'm ringing them in lace. So I'm thinking maybe a little bit off center, because this little fellow too, I drew in some little tulips and stitched them. So I think I'll do a similar thing. So let's get our outline of our little guy. He's perfect size for this project. I thought I might need to reduce him, but now that I see him in position, he's actually spot on. So let's get him drawn. So this is a really easy way of transferring, especially if you can't see your fabric, is cut your piece out like a template. Makes it really simple. Now let's say you wanted to break it down even more to really capture the shape of the little fellow, especially if it was something really detailed and you just felt like you wouldn't be able to, you know, pull off that design. So I could put that piece on there and draw it, or I think I'm just going to do this. Oh, I got the pen off already. So just like usual, heat soluble friction pen, or heat, yeah, soluble, that's the right word, isn't it? So now let's take his little chest area off. This is a really good technique for if something's really detailed and you like can get an outline, but you just want to honour the design. You can deconstruct your piece. Now we've got some shape starting to happen here for this little guy, so we might make a point of getting some of this detail in. Let's say that you struggle with getting that shape, so then you can just do this. It makes it so simple, doesn't it? And you thought I'd sketch it in. Like, I don't mind doing flowers, but animals can be tricky. And I thought, oh, well, let's come up with a different way. So for those of you out there that aren't confident, or you're using, like I said, a fabric that is really dense and you just can't see through, this is the way to do it. So you can then take the patch of the eye area out. And then once again, you can sketch in your eye. How simple is that? Now there's a little seam on his ear coming through there that I'd like to stitch in. Okay, let's take the other eye out. Makes it simple. Just breaking it down into simple shapes. There we go. So you might be tempted to draw in your line here, which shouldn't be too hard. But if you were concerned, I'd take the ears off and sort of sketch in, you know, your shape again. But I think we are on the home straight. Now the eyes, they can be a challenge. So I think I want to capture Susanna's design. So once again, I'm going to break it down. sure it's all up the right way. Yep. Real simple. Now remembering some of these shapes may be a fraction bigger because I'm drawing around the outside. So if you think your design doesn't quite look right, that could be what it is. You've got yourself a little bit more area due to you're going around the outside of you know, a cut piece of paper. There we go. Let's see if we can draw this one in without doing the cutout. See if we can get that shape. It's got real doughy eyes, hasn't he? Gorgeous little guy. There we go. And then there's a little glint that'll come together when we start stitching him in. So we've got a little detail of some little stitches through here, giving him a little bit of tonage. Little tonage, is that a word? Now his body, we've got all sorts of little dots, little deer dots. We can sketch those in, we don't need to. Okay. And that one. Hello. Very good. Now, was there anything under his whiskers, like his chest? I'll shape that a little bit when I stitch it. So I feel like that's pretty good. I think we could probably do a few little stitches down in here to denote that there's this different zone to him. There we go. Hello, little guy. How are you? All right. So, following the principles of last time, we need to invisible stitch the backing into position. So let's quickly do that before we get too far ahead of ourselves. That shall not take long. And then we'll go through the fabric and not fabric, sorry, the threads. So it feels like my wadding is a fraction bigger than the actual piece, but that's fine. And then we might draw in actually the flowers, but I haven't done that yet. Now in the bunny I did the flowers just in a cream thread, so they're there but not there, if that makes sense. Very subtle. This won't go anywhere now. I do find when I'm stitching these heavier fabrics, try and get as thin as you can needle, because the bigger the needle, the bigger the hole, and the more push you need to get your, you know, stitch or your needle through. Well, then that's more pressure on your hands. So don't wear yourself out if you don't need to, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to trim that white backing yet, because as you stitch, it tends to bring things in a little. So we'll trim it up when we're ready. Is what I'm thinking. That's probably enough invisible stitching. I'm not going to make it up that other side, but to be honest, that is not going anywhere. So when I grab that rice bag, that's the one that holds all my scraps of random fabrics. 2 pieces fell out, so we might use those, because I did piece fabric around the outer side as well as lace. You can see there's little snippets of bits and pieces building up the layers. That might do, I think. There we go. He's not going anywhere. I just need to do a little trim in there. Alrighty. Ow. Pin up, needle upside down, going back into my finger. Lovely. All right. I'm thinking we stick with the tulips because I just love the continuity. I don't want too many because we'll end up just covering them with lace, because I know what I'm like. There'll be lace coming in everywhere here. So I just want to keep it. I think we could probably have one peeking up behind him. Maybe one in there. Oops, we've got to have a point, not a round top. I know what I'm thinking. Just to make it look like he's in a bit of a field is the theory behind it all. So I think our little one is in position. Now we've got to match the threads. There's an empty tray. So I'm thinking good old cream. Oops, red. Where'd that come from? No. I think that's a definite. It does not surprise me. It's pretty standard. Oh, goodness me. Gave everyone a good bumper. Okay, let's get into this and see. So there's some grey, yeah, that's definitely one of them. It won't matter if I go a little bit off of, I put in a for his spots, so 642 and 640, there's probably not much of a difference between them, but and 612, I'll pop them in to get the spots on his little back. Might even pop that in. Maybe they've got to go more honey-like. Now his actual outline was a grey. Was it this guy? This one's called Slate. No. I think it might have been him. Oh, this looks familiar. These are piled up as if that could be even from them. Yeah, I've done a little bit of that blue grey, and I think, so what number is that guy? Oh, it would have to be all different numbers. I'm not going to worry too much because at the end of the day, only you and I are going to know that they're slightly different. But I have a feeling that that's probably it. Yeah, it is. And I'm running out of it. So we might leave him for now. And there might even be a chance that I get to a shop to pick up another one, because it is one of my favourite greys. There's definitely not a little skerrick of it anywhere else, is there? No. Nope. Okay. I think we have our base colours. I do feel like I could get a little bit of brown in there. Those spots. I suppose we could go honey-like. Pop that one in. Okay, there we go. So, sorry, just boom, crash, bang. So let's start with a tulip because if you recall, which you may or may not, they are couched. Is that the same cotton? Yes, we have a thread already threaded, a needle already threaded. Oh my goodness, the words fail me today. So what did I couch it with? As in, what's the stitch or the thread I use to hold it down? Actually, I think I've whip stitched around that. I couched it. I think I've wrapped it. Clever. So, what I've done is laid down the stitch like so, and then come back up couched it into position, as in a couple little stitches to hold him, otherwise he'll wriggle around. That's not going anywhere now. And then I've come along and whipped over him. And that's just giving him a little bit more body. I can see why, because that's probably a little fine. Like it's got to be there, but not that tulip. So I'd say I would have couched this down and then gone, that's a bit non-impressive. So now I'm back down at the bottom. Bring it up to the camera. I'm going to literally just work my way back up, winding my thread through all of that previous stitching. It just gives it a really nice, every so often put a stitch through, just keeps it all from slipping and sliding. Up we come again, underneath, underneath, maybe 2 or 3 wraps, and then do a stitch. It just makes it feel really nice and raised. So there you go. So that's how I did the tulip. That's really quick stitching. I know it looks like a bit of a procedure to get us where we are, but honestly, that is quick. And I might, so say every 1/4 of an inch, I do an anchoring stitch just to, you don't want it all over time all shimmying down your stem. And now we anchor it at the actual petal. So this time we come up and we go back down at the top of that petal. Using my finger to hold it there, I'm just going to whip straight back with some little stitches to hold that into position. It's that easy. This couching business would have to be the quickest stitch, I think. I should be able to whip around this with my leftover thread, but then it's going to come to an end. I'll just anchor it. You probably can't even see. It's a shocking colour to be showing you, but I'm hoping that my words is enough to at least give you a hint. You're probably all busy stitching anyway. No one's looking. I think I've got enough. come up at that tip and go down, and then secure that petal with a couple little stitches. And that's probably pushing my luck there to make that section. Yeah, I definitely won't be whipping. Oh, maybe I can. It's called stitch chicken, thread chicken. I first heard that. My mate Marianne, she was using some of my scraps to do granny squares for those blankets that we're doing for charity. And when you're doing that type of work, you just have your fingers crossed that you'll get to the end of the square and have enough yarn, especially when you've got none left. That's it, scraps. And she was sitting there going, oh, I've got yarn chicken. I'm like, what? She goes, yarn chicken. And she gets this tiny little ball in her fingers. She goes, have I got enough yarn here to finish what I want to do? And there you go. I did it. I just did thread chicken and I made it. So there you go. There's something new for you, unless you have heard that before. I'm going to just save that little piece there. I'll catch that another time when I'm sitting in front of my TV. I've got to find myself a good movie. I'm home alone tonight, so I am going to do some stitching and I'm going to find myself a historical drama. How many threads did I use in this? It's very fine. I think it's 2, which is good. That'll make this go a little bit further. Just pop those 2 back there. Don't want to waste it. I think I might go for a little jaunt and get myself some more thread. Sort of feel like it could be 3. Now remember the old trick to stop things from twisting. I don't do this enough, and my thread twists and all sorts of things happen, and then someone reminds me that you're supposed to split it, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Who has time for this? If I was doing beautiful work to be presented, you know, at a judging, and the threads had to lay beautifully, you would do that to relax your threads. But yeah, this little dough is going to be stitched onto a scrappy bag, and then it's going to roll around on my table. It's then going to be you know, shoved in a box as I go somewhere to take stitching. What are we doing here? I think I might start. Let's have a think about this. The eye. Do we want the eye? Yeah, I think we do. I'm just trying to decide what colour to do the side of the eye. Is the colour coming up here part of the head, or is that an insert of colour like fawn or something, or gold, that needs to be defined? Did I do stem stitch or split back stitch? You know, the benefits of maybe writing some notes, split back stitch, it doesn't surprise me, it's one of my favourites, would probably be a good thing. I use this and I use that, but no, she doesn't. She just pops her little bunny away and says, oh, sooner or later I'll be doing a deer, and then the deer comes along and she's like, oh, what did she do? I figured I could figure it out. Yeah, that looks very similar to that bunny. Should be really nice. Really happy with this project. I do have a few pages in my Roxy Journal of Stitchery journals from previous years gone by for, you know, stitcheries to take them up. I thought, oh, I could do with another container. So that's when I cut up the rest of this fabric. I was actually thinking about the other night, this one here is, the internal is made of this same product. And I'm like, oh, if I go and use another 5 squares, because there's 4 on the surround and 1 on the base, that's 1 less container of goodies that I could have stored. So I don't know, maybe I might pick a nice fabric to be the lining for this one. Or maybe I could get away with calico or muslin, the lightweight one, and save the 5 pieces of this heavyweight canvas to make another one-day bag where I explore something or theme it to a particular pile of fabrics. Great for scraps. I'd use this for lace, but my pile of lace scraps is too much. I'm thinking that this one will actually hold tatting, because I don't have a lot of tatting, because it just, once you get a couple good pieces, it lasts for ages because you're using it and you're collaging. So I actually thought, well, this would be a lovely spot to store the tatting. Who knows? I'll find something for it. They're really handy. Especially when you want to experiment with a particular style of stitching. You could participate in a stitch along and explore new techniques and then present them on the side of a storage tote bag, caddy in your craft room. And it's handy because often I've looked at some of these pieces and especially the weaving, this one here, I've redone that a few times and I've gone back to this piece to sort of draw some inspiration. So we're just whipping around his little head here. I think some of his little details, like that little edge on his ear, these are all areas where I think I'll explore some of these beigey tones. The little marks through the centre of his head there, they can be little beigey flecks. And his spots, I think we'll play with his little spots there, whether I do some satin stitch in there, like make them quite pronounced. And then once I get the outline, I'll then come back through with some placed little stitches. You see how Bunny's face, I just stitched in like I'd come back with a pencil. Have a look at the tops of his ears. Let me bring it into light. I just came back through as if it was a pencil and just sort of added a little bit of shading using the stitches. Okay. There we go. So we might do, we'll assume the black is happening. Let's work around his little, do we want it more golden? No. I think that's the one we want. If it doesn't look right, we can pick another thread easily enough. I can't believe we're in May, guys. Oh my goodness sakes. Isn't it amazing? Like you working through projects and it's like, oh, I've got 3 weeks to do that and I'll do that and that'll take 4 weeks, and you know, and then you finish the project and you're like, oh gosh, we're now cruising into the next month. Time goes too fast, doesn't it? Let's try this. I think this will help me decide what happens with those spots. So when I come back with the next video of the little dough, it will be laying down some of these little pieces to build up the shrubbery that's around him. So he's peeking through a little spot in the bushes, and the bushes is lace and little portions of fabric. But in the meantime, I have a lovely little deer to stitch. Once I get it stitched, I'll get the iron, get rid of all those lines. And then we can play with lace, but that will be in the next video. So Susanna's video for her little deer would have come up probably on Wednesday. But Primitive Rabbit snuck in, and Village Life is ticking along, working on Susanna's panel. And of course, by putting this one up, no, it won't be Friday because I'll have the Stitch the Seasons. So, ooh, this might even be a Saturday for you, or the Monday. So we've got the Roxy Journal of Stitchery Challenge useful items. Now, I'm filming this a few days in advance, so I don't know yet what it is. So maybe the little deer will get moved around a little bit depending on what the girls announce. It might send me down a rabbit hole that's just all engaging and the little deer gets pushed back a week. Gosh, who knows? So, yeah, I guess you'll be looking at the date right now and you'll be going, she's in a rabbit hole, or no, she's pacing herself. If it's Saturday, here we go. I'm going to foresee the future here. It won't be Friday because I will have my autumn Stitch the Season piece in there, which is what I'm going to pick up next to do some more stitching on. If it's Saturday, I'm still pondering the new Roxy challenge announcement, and I haven't yet decided. So you'll probably see that on the Monday. Have I got anything planned for the Monday? No. Just looking at my little calendar here. So, but if you are watching this, and it's Monday, it means the Roxy announcement was so darn exciting and I'm into it already. But if I need time to think, it'll depend on where the little deer is sitting. So you'll... If you're watching this Monday, I was boots and all into it. Ideas were popping and the girl was going. So, yeah, we'll predict the future there. I'm sure you guys know what I'm like. I'm either straight into it, boots and all, or I just need a day or so just to formulate a plan. So there's his little mane. I might just use the last of that thread just to do a few little random stitches. I'll definitely put more in there, but there was no use ending that off knowing there was, plenty of thread there. I might stick up there where his chin is, because if there's going to be a little bit darker thread used, it'll be in those shadowy spots, like his little chin. Okay, that's enough. Thread possum, thread chicken. playing possum. Isn't that faking? You're playing possum. You're pretending that you're not participating. I don't know. Thread possum or thread chicken. Okay, so I'm going to drop down a colour. And I might work this up through his centre of his head. And then I might toddle off, guys. Leave you all in peace. So you can do some stitching. Don't waste that thread, girl. Let's just tidy up briefly. I don't use my DMCs as much as I used to, because there's all these other gorgeous thicknesses of threads that we can utilise. So it's good when you can get them out. Might as well use them. I've had them for, oh my goodness. I would say those DMC threads are probably 30-year-old, maybe 35 years. When I was doing cross stitch, would be the first time I would have started investing. Back when they were 50 cents, 45 cents a skein. Oh, I've got a funny story. The other day, I took my mother-in-law to the doctor. She gets a needle in the eyeball. Like, oh, it's as gruesome as it sounds, but probably not, because I've never had it. But she has her eye specialist go in once every 4 weeks and inject something that fills a crack or a hole in there, and after a while it all sort of heals up, and then with monitoring and the odd needle, it's maintainable. It's got a big fancy name, but I can't remember it. Anyway, it's not the point. So she likes it when I take her, because I drop her off and then I go find her and sit with her in the waiting room, and then just help her to the lift, the toilet, back down to the car, you know, the whole palaver. And then on the way back to her unit, we usually stop somewhere and grab a quick takeaway burger that she can take in, because she doesn't get those types of treats anymore. So there's a KFC on the way. So she gets a chicken fillet burger on the way home and some small chips, and she loves it. Drop her off and she's settled in for the day. So that's the routine. So while we're in the waiting room, we chat away, and I'm sure everyone can hear us, but nah, it doesn't matter. You know, those people in the corner of the waiting room that are yibby-yabbering and everyone can hear it? Yeah, that's us. So she says to me, "You must be due for a birthday this month." And I said, "Yep, end of the month. It's my birthday." She goes, "How old are you?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't worry about these things anymore, unless it's a big number, big party." So she went quiet. She's thinking about it. And I'd already gone on to the next thing in my brain. I'd moved on. And she goes, "Right, working it out." So she's done the math. And she worked out that I was going to be 55. And I was quite taken back. And I thought, 55 already? That snuck up. So I'm sitting there. I believed her 100%. And I said to her, "I'm not good with numbers. I never remember numbers. I can figure out numbers, but when I look at a number, often I twist them or forget them, or I'm not a numbers person. I can never remember the year that my husband was born, because I get the 6 and the 7 or the 6 and the 9. I can never quite remember the combination. Don't even get me started on combinations and pin numbers. It's a disaster waiting to happen. But anyway, beside the point, I'm sitting there going, 55, oh my goodness, 55, oh, that's disappointing. Oh, you know, having a moment. I didn't say anything out aloud, and she was adamant, yeah, 55, gee, times flies. You know, those types of compliments that are hollow, and it's not a compliment, it's an observation, a hollow observation, and then you're on to the next topic. It's like, gee, the weather's been hot lately. Well, I'm sitting there thinking about 55. Wow, time has flown, you know. I'm not down or anything, not at all. just stunned that 55 has jumped up. Roll forward 4 days, and I'm in the car with my husband, and he says, "You must have a birthday coming up," just like his mother. "You must have a birthday coming up." I was like, oh, everyone's quite observant. At least they're remembering, hey? And I'm saying, yeah. And he goes, "How old are you?" And he knows darn well that I'd have no idea, because he's asked many a time and I've had to figure it out. Unless I know, because I'm planning like a 50th or a 40th or, you know. Anyway, being that it was a topic earlier in the week, I said, "Oh, yes, I was actually talking to your mum about it at the doctor's surgery. I'm 55. And then I didn't think much more of it, really. I got over the trauma of realising that I was 55. And he's gone quiet. And I thought, oh, he might be planning a good present, because it's a little bit of a milestone, isn't it, 55? And he says, "Have you got that right?" I'm like, "I don't know." I said, "Your mother said I was, so I must be. She's a wise woman." He goes, "Oh, I think you've got it wrong." I'm like, "Have I?" So that's when I took a moment to actually work it out. And turns out I'm going to be 52. And he's just laughing his head off. He goes, "That is just so typical." I was absolutely elated. Do you know what it's like to realise that one day you're 55? Oh my goodness. And then 3-4 days later you realise that you're only 52. It's a windfall. It's like, oh, well, there you go. And I was buzzing for about easy 10 kilometres up the highway. I was chipper. I'm only 52. Unbelievable. 52. There you go. There's my story for the day. And you'll be thinking, oh my goodness, girl. So if you ever meet me, you say to me, "How old are you, Corrine?" I will look at you blankly. I'd probably just say, "Oh, probably 55. If someone's told me recently what I am. It's just hopeless. Hopeless. I've got a little bit of thread left here, so I'm just scooting up the side of his little area there and stitching in the last of this little bit of thread, and then I'm going to toddle off. And I'm going to take my old self and find myself a movie with my little dear and finish stitching him, and I will be back and we can get into the fun stuff. We can start building up his shrubbery around him. Might even be brave and bring in another darker colour. I think I probably could. Oh, I've still got a bit left. All right, hold your horses. You're not going anywhere, guys. Let's work my way down this side. If the sun was to hit this little deer on, it would probably be this side, the way I'm going. So if I do any more stitching over here, I'll make it probably a fraction darker. Looks so much better once you iron all your lines out. You know, you've got your sketch lines sort of shadowing those beautiful colours in the thread. Pepper's looking at me in the window. She's just sat down. She's thinking, oh, well, I might as well just take a seat. There we go. We've come to the end of our thread. Probably could get another stitch, but that's enough. That's pretty good. We have a plan. All right. So I guess if you're watching this on a Monday, which would be, let me look at my calendar, the 6th, you know that the Roxy girls have given me something and I've hit the floor running on that Saturday the 4th. If you're watching this on Saturday the 4th, you know I'm still thinking, still wondering how I'm going to approach the prompt. All right, I might just thread up this random thread, which was the tulips, and I'm going to say, here comes Fudgy, I'm going to say goodbye and head to the couch for a lazy bit of stitching because I'm all by myself. I'll put those 2 little morsels away for now. We will play with them another day. Okay, so we begin. A little deer to match my little hair for my little scrappy rice bag storage thingy. Yeah, who knows? All right, guys, look after yourselves and have a lovely day. Bye.